where you were on $9.99? Did you ever think a fighting game could be so addictive, or that a polygonal blue hedgehog could look so good? Dust off that old white console, because it's time to count down your favorite Dreamcast games, right now on Filter. I'm Diane Mizota, and welcome to Filter, a hand-picked top 10 video game countdown is voted on by you, the viewer, at G4TV.com. From Arrow Wings to Zombie Revenge and everything in between, the Sega Dreamcast went from the top of the console world to the bottom faster than you can say PS2. But along the way, the little white console that could delivered some groundbreaking titles that still look and play great today. And this unforgettable console deserves some unforgettable recognition. So today, I stand before you as its most unforgettable character, Ooh La La. So, it's with great reverence, high esteem, and some bittersweet nostalgia that we look back on your favorite Dreamcast games. But before we do that, we thought you might want to know a little bit of the history behind Sega's Great White Hope, and what made it so great in the first place.
Dreamcast was a Sega console that was put out in the late 90s. I thought the system was going to do really well. I was really excited about its release. It had really good hardware for the time.
It was Sega's next big console after the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn was a miserable failure for Sega, and it really wanted to get back into the race, so they put out the Dreamcast way before any of these next generation systems came out. Unfortunately, they might have been a little bit too early.
It came at a sort of awkward time right before the release of the PlayStation 2, so unfortunately it didn't build the fan base that it could have.
It kind of has a special place in a lot of gamers' hearts because there were a lot of great games for it, a lot of very, I guess you could call them gamers games.
It wasn't selling as well, I guess, as the other platforms because some of the other consoles were doing better. They could make more mediocre titles, and lots of them, but the Dreamcast had this small library, and a lot of the games were actually really excellent and original.
They still make games for the Dreamcast. I don't understand how 2 years pass and the system still is as powerful as the newer generation systems that are on the market right now, yet nobody's made a game for it in ages.
So now that you know what made the Dreamcast great, let's get to the countdown. We begin with a title that proved country club members aren't the only ones who can enjoy a little racket action. At number 10 is Virtua Tennis.
Virtua Tennis is a fantastic game. It's basically simplicity defined. You know, so you just move the joystick, press one button. It's about as simple as tennis is itself, and just as complex.
Usually tennis games were kind of limited in terms of movement around the court, but with Virtua Tennis, it's not like a basic Pong type game or a ping pong type game. I mean, it actually required a great degree of skill.
That was like the very first tennis game that I played that was actually realistic. The player models looked really real. The speed for the game was just right, you know, it seemed really realistic.
Virtua Tennis is by far the best tennis game I've ever played, genre breaker.
While Virtua Tennis helped take you off the couch and onto the court, our next game helped bring the arcade to your living room, which inevitably put your ass right back on the couch. For that faction of the population who enjoys hunting the undead, House of the Dead 2 is for you.
House of the Dead 2 is a funny shooting game. I think the thing that I remember most about House of the Dead 2 are these kind of ridiculous voice acting.
Please be safe, Gene.
It was a very very fast-paced game, but it also had some really amusing dialogue.
I don't want to die!
The voice acting was terrible, but that made it cool. It made it funny and fun.
Unfortunately, House of the Dead 2 came out right after the Columbine shooting, so Sega was like, you know what, we can't release the gun. There's no way we can release the gun peripheral. Of course, everyone went ahead and bought the import version so you can use it like that.
If you like the feel of cold steel in your hands, but you also enjoy pummeling enemies with your fists, then you're a prime candidate for our next game. Utilizing power-ups, weapons, and interactive environments, Power Stone was a fighting game that broke new ground for digital pugilists, which is exactly why it comes in at number 8.
Power Stone is probably my most favorite game from the Dreamcast library. It's sort of classic Capcom stuff. It's fast, it's fun, it's colorful, it's got lots of character. It was really a nice mix between sort of complex and simplistic gameplay.
Power Stone is a cool type of game. It's a 3D fighter, but for up to 4 people, and throwing not just punches and kicks, but also throwing items, and you have to watch out for things in the environment attacking you and all sorts of stuff.
It was a crazy fighting game. Right? You could throw stuff around and throw stuff at each other, you know, even throw each other. And it probably, in many ways, it could also be seen as kind of a precursor to Super Smash Brothers.
So, Power Stone is the first fighter to appear in our list, but I have a strong suspicion that it won't be the last. Anyway, we need to take a break, but when we come back, we'll continue our countdown of your top 10 Dreamcast games of all time, and we'll see what some Dreamcasts have been up to since retiring.